family shot me too.
Today, a big break in the road toward justice. Multiple arrests in the murder of a Kitsap family. A desperate 48-second phone call by a 16-year-old boy pleading for help.
Hey, someone here with a gun. I don't know if you need to come now.
The call ends. Later, a home found burning with 3 bodies inside, a woman and 2 boys.
2 days later, a father found dead inside his burned-out truck.
Every day that goes on, the longer this takes, it's just harder. This burden does not get lighter.
We deserve justice. They deserve justice. Those boys deserve justice.
And finally, the wheels of justice are turning today in the murder of the Careaga family. Thank you for joining us for the News at 5. I'm Hannah Kim.
And I'm Jamie Tompkins. 3 people have been arrested for the quadruple homicide. 2 of them reportedly members of a motorcycle club. We have team coverage tonight. Steve Higgins has details on the investigation step by step.
But first, we had to anchor David Rose, who spoke with family members today. David, how are they reacting to this?
Well, they are elated, Hannah. About 20 of them came here to the Kitsap County Sheriff's Department and met with the detective and the investigators who arrested the 3 suspects this morning in an operation that we're told went very cleanly. The family came out of that meeting feeling much better about the situation, as tragic as it is, because they had some of their questions answered, but they know there's still a lot of things they don't know. And are all of the suspects in custody? Detectives say there may be more involved. But let's talk about the 3 that were caught this morning, finally, after 5.5 years. Fox 13 news reporter Steve Higgins is here with me in Kitsap County and has that part of the story.
David, this was a very sudden end to this years-long investigation, but by this morning, 3 suspects, 2 of them here in Pierce County and two of them here in Kitsap County and another down in Pierce County, all arrested, and they had to coordinate it, so where all 3 were arrested just within hours of each other.
It's been a long road. We've never given up. Our detectives have poured blood, sweat, and tears into this case.
Lieutenant Ken Dickinson from the Kitsap County Sheriff's Office spoke with a grin on his face, pleased to share the news that a case that once ran cold might finally be coming to a close.
These are the types of people we need to get off the street.
My whole family shot me too.
These were 16-year-old Hunter Schaap's last words on a call to 911, pleading for help on January 27, 2017.
Who did it? Someone came in. Hey, someone here with a gun. I don't know if you need to come now.
The call lasted less than a minute. When first responders got to the Careaga's home, they found the building on fire. And when the flames were doused, 3 bodies were discovered inside. 16-year-old Hunter Schaap, 16-year-old Jonathon Higgins, and 37-year-old Christale Careaga. But her husband, 43-year-old Johnny Careaga, was nowhere to be found. Someone spotted his truck, also scorched by fire, along a remote North Mason County road some 3 days later. Johnny's body was also found inside the car. It would be 4 more months until investigators shared new information seeking the public's assistance. This surveillance video, released by investigators in June 2017, showed this man, who they called a person of interest. The video was taken inside a Target store 12 days before the murders. Police identified the man as 39-year-old Danny Kelly, shown wearing attire connected to the Bandidos motorcycle club. That's when investigators pled with other club members to come forward with information about those murders, but the case grew colder with each passing month until now. 4 years later after the video was released, investigators announcing 3 men are under arrest, 2 of them with ties to the motorcycle club. Each faced 16 charges, from aggravated first-degree murder, assault, kidnapping, burglary, and more. We don't yet know if Kelly is officially charged. After years of sweat and toil, Kitsap County Sheriff's deputies believe they can finally bring justice to the Careaga family.
Elated and relieved and satisfied. I mean, all the good things that you can think of. This is the result of years of tremendous hard work on the part of so many people to finally bring some measure of justice, or at least begin the process of that for the Careaga family.
Now, there's still much to learn exactly how all 3 of those arrests happened earlier today and the direct lead-up of those arrests. We're going to learn much more tomorrow. A detective working on this case mentioned the probable cause documents for each of these suspects is 50 pages long. Now, each of these suspects are being held here in jail on $20 million bail each, likely to be arraigned tomorrow. David?
Steve, thank you. Kitsap County Sheriff's detectives also worked with the FBI. This was an intense investigation that was very detailed. They were dedicated and not going to give up. Some family members were frustrated at how long it took, but the prosecutors saying they wanted to delay the trial because of COVID until they could have a jury trial, which they now can have. So they served those warrants and arrested those 3 suspects today. One of the people that our viewers have connected with over the years is the mother of Hunter Schaap, Carly Schaap, because she has made so many tearful pleas and her pain has just been palpable every time she talked, asking for somebody to come forward. It worked. Detectives say they did get tips from the public to assist in this case. So today, after she spoke with investigators, I talked with her about how she's doing.
I'm happy that there's going to be some answers. I'm happy that, we've been waiting over 5 years for arrests to be made, so this is a huge step in the right direction.
Yeah.
A huge step.
Will you be in court tomorrow?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Did you learn anything today that you didn't know that might provide some answers for you?
I think a lot of it was answered for me today, and some things were. I got some answers, and unfortunately. There's going to be a lot more that I don't know and will come out, and that is scary.
So many more details that we're going to learn tomorrow. Now, coming up at 5:30, I'll talk with Christale Careaga's daughter about her reaction to the news today of these 3 arrests. Fox 13 has led coverage on this from the very beginning, breaking every major development, including the story today. We're going to stay committed to helping cover this for the people in Kitsap County that have been rattled, rightfully so, about this quadruple murder. So stay right here and fox13seattle.com for the very latest. I'll see you at 5:30. For now, I'll send you back to the studio.
Investigators need help gathering information after they arrested 3 people for the death of a Seabeck family 5 years ago.
We know that there's another crime scene somewhere. We know that there's more people that are either involved or have information.
The 3 suspects accused of killing the Careaga family all appeared in court yesterday, all 3 pleading not guilty, and a judge ordered them to be held without bail. Detectives think that they were motivated by drugs and money. Court documents show Johnny Careaga sold large amounts of narcotics with hundreds of thousands of dollars stashed at his family's home. Investigators never found the money, but they say one of the suspects' bank accounts did grow suspiciously. The family's loved ones, meanwhile, were in court yesterday for those proceedings.
It was satisfying to be able to look at them in the eye and in their face and see these monsters. Finally, you can sense the evil just by looking at them and being in the same room as them.
Johnny Careaga was found dead miles from his home and also days after the rest of his family was killed, which is why investigators think there could be more suspects. The trial for the 3 suspects is set to start August 1st.
Friends of a family murdered in 2017 filled a Kitsap County courtroom today as 2 members of a biker gang and another man accused of killing them over drugs stand trial. King 5 Sebastian Robertson is in Port Orchard with what happened in court today.
2 members of the notorious Bandidos motorcycle club and another man are fighting to prove their innocence inside a Kitsap County courtroom.
The time doesn't work. The geography doesn't work. And the math just doesn't.
The state is trying to convince a jury that these 3 men, 2 of them active Bandidos gang members, worked together to kill a family of 4 and then tried to burn their house down. The defense arguing a witness couldn't have heard the 11 shots he reported to police more than a year after the killings.
The murder weapon is either a .38 Special or a .357 Magnum. It's a revolver. It doesn't have a clip at all. They hold between 5 and 6 bullets at a time. And we also know, based upon the scene, that a total of 8 bullets were fired by the murderers.
The killings were in January of 2017. 2 days after the fire, John Careaga, the father of the household, was found dead inside his burned out truck. The state says Careaga was a business owner who dealt cocaine on the side. His clients? Members of the Bandidos motorcycle club. The same men they say came to kill him after a falling out. Gang members who investigators say helped lead to the suspected killer's arrest.
They have a sense of loyalty and they want to defend and obviously protect their brothers, but they won't stand. Again, this is what I was told. They won't stand for a member who kills children and women.
An investigation that may have not yielded an arrest had it not been for the 16-year-old boy who was shot but managed to call 911 before he died.
The evidence will show you that this house would have burned all the way down, but for Hunter. Hunter's 911 call interrupted their whole process.
All three men are charged with murder. They all face the possibility of life in prison if convicted. In Kitsap County, Sebastian Robertson, King 5 News.
That's right, Steve and Joyce. You know, the detectives we spoke with here in Kitsap County say that the Bandidos are known for their hatred of police. But in this case, they were actually helpful because a couple of their members may have crossed the line.
I'm hoping to raise a couple $1,000.
Public knew John Careaga as a local taqueria owner involved in positive community events like this taco fundraiser in 2012. But according to investigators, Careaga was also involved in drug dealing and had customers who were members of the Bandidos Motorcycle Club, including two of the suspects arrested yesterday, Danny Kelly Jr. and Robert Watson III. According to Kitsap County investigators, the Bandidos are one of the largest motorcycle gangs in the country, known for drug dealing, violent crimes, and a dislike of police. An entry-level member is considered a hang-around, but can be promoted to prospect if they fulfill all requests of their mentors. Detectives say Kelly got promoted to prospect after the killings by his sponsor, Watson III, who was then vice president of the Bremerton Bandidos.
When they're asking for something to be done, it is generally expected that a hang-around or even a prospect would do those acts.
Lead Detective Lisa Gundrum does not consider the Careaga killings gang-related. She said local Bandido members were actually cooperative with police, even the club's president, letting detectives know Watson III supposedly showed up to someone's house hours after the killings without any pants, and that Watson had allegedly changed his stories about his involvement with the family's murder.
They have a sense of loyalty, and they want to defend and obviously protect their brothers, but they won't stand. Again, this is what I was told. They won't stand for a member who kills children and women.
According to detectives, not long after the killings, anonymous tips started coming in suggesting that the Bandidos might have had something to do with all of this. And not long after that is when police say the Bandido president and his attorney showed up here at the sheriff's office willing to help. Live in Port Orchard, Drew Mickelson, King 5.
We, the jury, find the defendant Robert James Watson III guilty of premeditated. I'm sorry, folks. We need to. If you need to step out.
An outburst of applause in court today as a string of guilty verdicts were handed down for the murders of 4 members of the Careaga family. Thanks for joining us today. I'm Frankie Thompson.
I'm Hannah Kim. Justice has been served in one of the worst crimes out of Kitsap County. In Superior Court today, Danny Kelly Jr. and brothers Bobby and Johnny Watson were found guilty of murdering a family of 4.
This case dates back to 7 years to January 2017. 16-year-old Hunter Schaap, 16-year-old Jonathon Higgins, and 37-year-old Christale Careaga were executed inside of their home. Then the murderers tried to hide the crime with fire. 43-year-old John Careaga's body was found days later in a burned-out truck hidden in a tree farm.
Fox 14 News reporter A.J. Janival was in the courtroom for the verdict, and A.J., the judge, had to warn the family members there during the hearing.
You know, there was just so much emotion in that courtroom today. You can imagine 7 years of waiting for justice. This hearing delayed due to so many different reasons, including a biker gang code of silence, witness fear, as well as COVID-19. Now, what investigators say the motive for this quadruple murder was drugs, money, and personal issues. Officials tell me there were safety concerns during the entire 4 months of testimony, which had extra security on site each day. And today, following the verdict, the media, family, and the jury were escorted out of the courtroom due to safety concerns. After 7 years of waiting, I spoke to the family about how they feel finally getting justice.
So for this day to finally get here, we never thought it would come. I mean, 7 years is a long time, but we're here, we made it, and our families can rest.
I'm glad it's over, and we just wait for the next court date.
to finally hear what they're going to do with those 3 guys.
And you hear the next thing that this family is waiting for is for that court date. The sentencing is expected for May 7th, but all 3 of these defendants are convicted of several counts of murder in the first degree, aggravated murder in the first degree. Officials at the prosecutor's office here tell me just 1 conviction of aggravated murder in the first degree is a sentence of life in prison without the possibility of release. Reporting live in Kitsap County, I'm AJ Jonathon, Fox 13 News.
AJ, thanks. Fox 13 has been following this story since the very beginning, and Fox 13's David Rose dug deep into this case for years, even highlighting the investigation on the spotlight.
Yeah, so David is on the phone right now for us. David, I know that even before the 3 men were arrested in 2022, for years you covered the murders extensively and you shared every update and challenges that investigators were facing, which in part culminated in their arrest. So how are people close to this case feeling right now, David?
Well, Ann and Frankie, I talked to Detective Lisa Gundrum right after the verdict was announced today. Lisa spent 5 years working on this case. It was the only case that she was assigned to. That was why it was such a big priority for the Kitsap County Sheriff's Office. And she had a great partner in the FBI who was there from the very beginning. She says that she is so grateful to all of the jury who went in depth on this and did everything they could to examine the evidence and to really challenge it from all sides. She said there was even contentious sometimes inside the jury as they deliberated, and she appreciates the time they spent because this went on for months. And she says she's grateful to the work they did, and she's also grateful to all the public who helped on this case by providing information.
Yeah, David, we know that you have been following this case every step of the way, and this has also gained plenty of media attention for the past several years. Is anyone saying how media coverage has played a role in any part of this case?
Yeah, I mean, I've spoken with both Lisa and with Lieutenant Chad Birkenfeld numerous times over the years, and when they were stuck or they needed some particular piece of information or they had a piece of video that they wanted to release, some surveillance video or video of a car, they would turn to the public for help. They would turn to Fox 13 for help. And our viewers every single time stepped up with crucial information to help piece together the puzzle. This is an extremely complicated case. The families were extremely patient, and she just could not say enough good things about the family and how grateful she is. I mean, they waited 5 years or more just to get the charges filed, and then had to go through this lengthy process with culminating in the verdict. So this really was a partnership between the community, the Sheriff's Office, and many of the viewers at Fox 13 who submitted tips to Crime Stoppers, who was also involved. And, you know, this was a horrific wound in the community, and it gave people who watched the stories, who participated, a way to try to help feel safer, to do whatever they could, especially to get justice for those 2 16-year-old boys and for Crystal and Johnny. I mean, this was a horrific case that has left people feeling unsafe for years in Kitsap County.
David, and as you said it, you know, we want to thank the public for bringing in those tips over the years. 7 long years. You heard, you know, a family member talking about it. They were tearful, and they say finally they can kind of go to rest on this case. So it's really good job to the public again, and good job to you for sharing all the information over the years, culminating in this verdict today.
Yes, David,
Yeah,
thank
really
you so
like
much.
Oh, you're welcome. I'll talk to you guys again at 5.
Hey, what's going on, you guys? Welcome back. Another episode of Greenlit Gang TV. Really appreciate all the likes, all the subscribes. It means a lot. We're on the road to 6,000 subscribers. Means everything to me. So thanks again, you guys. Trying to bring you guys better content, more interesting stories, diving deeper and deeper into the research, learning a little bit of editing here and there. So, yeah, anyway, appreciate you guys taking the journey with me. Today, we're going to be covering another crazy story I found. The Careaga family murders that took place in Kitsap County in Washington State back in 2017. This has to deal with the Bandidos biker gang. Just a really interesting story, again, with a lot of layers. So the Careaga family murders, like I said, took place in 2017, Kitsap County. The Careaga family consisted of 43-year-old John Derek Careaga, who went by Johnny, 37-year-old Christale Lynn Careaga, 16-year-old Jonathon Felipe Higgins, and 16-year-old Hunter Evan Schaap. They all lived together in Kitsap County, Washington. Now, you'll notice the kids, right, the two 16-year-olds, they have different last names. That's because John and John and Christale, they each had children with their previous relationships, so they were a blended family. They got married in 2009. Like I said, two teenagers come from prior relationships. They owned a very successful Java Hut, and I kind of thought this was an interesting combination, right? They're the owners of Christale's Java Hut and Juanito's Taco Shop. So kind of an interesting combo, but a really good combo. It was a thriving Mexican restaurant in Bremerton, Washington. Okay. And now Bremerton, Kitsap County, in these areas, obviously, up here, in Washington State, you've got Northwest, a lot of water, a lot of, basically in this area, it's known for its armed forces, right? There's a big Navy presence there. A lot of retired veterans out there. And I believe that's why you see this presence of the Bandidos biker club. Now, Bandidos are nationwide. They have chapters in different countries. They're worldwide. But I do believe that's why they have a strong presence in this area. I don't think it's a coincidence that there's a strong military presence with active and retired military members, and the fact that there's a pretty thriving biker club in the same area. So, we're going to go to January 27th, 2017. A 911 call comes through at 11:28 p.m., January 27th, 2017, which changed lives forever. The bodies of Christale Careaga, Hunter Schaap, and Jonathon Higgins were all discovered. They were shot and killed in their home before their residence was set ablaze. And then, 2 days later, the charred corpse of Johnny Careaga was found in his 2005 F-150, like a light duty work truck, in a remote area on a forest plantation over in Mason County, where he'd been gunned down, and again in the same situation, the truck had been torched. Okay, so January 27th, the bodies of Christale, Hunter, Jonathon are found after a 911 call is made. We will get into that 911 call in just a minute. 2 days later, John Careaga's body is found burned in a forest plantation over in Mason County in his 2005 Ford F-150. On the night, the deputies responded to the house to discover it on fire. After it was extinguished, right, they put the fire out. They find the bodies of Christale, Higgins, and Schaap. They're all dead from gunshot wounds to the head. Now, this is the interesting part. Schaap had surprised the killers. He had come home with pizza. Well, he walked in at the wrong time. They shot him twice and left him for dead. Before he died, he was able to make a 911 call before being shot a third time. Now, on this night in particular, Christale, the mom, she reportedly had some friends over at the house. Johnny was there, the dad. He receives a phone call while at the house and went out to meet someone. He tells the family, hey, I'll be right back. I'll be back shortly. Johnny comes back, but he doesn't go to the house. He goes out to the garage. One of the guests at Christale's house, one of her guests, right? She's got people over. They go out to the garage like, hey, where's John? Where's Johnny at? They walk up to the garage, but before entering, they hear three men arguing, talking in very loud voices. Pretty soon, gunshots start ringing out. So the guests leave. The killings start taking place. As the killings were taking place, police in Bremerton, Washington, receive a phone call from Hunter Schaap. Now, this is the 911 call I was telling you about. All right? In his final words to 911, Hunter Schaap says, help, I'm dying. My family is dead. Come now. Because you got to remember, he's the one that walked in with the pizzas. Okay, so he was unexpected. They walked into the house. They either had their plans for the dad, for Johnny. They killed the mom and the other son. He screams out, "Help, I'm dying, my family is dead, come now," telling police to hurry over. Then the phone line goes subsequently dead. And that's when we know that he is then shot a third time. He's also smothered. Oh, and I should say this. It said that he was smothered with a pillow before he was fatally shot. So obviously they find out, or they can hear him talking on 911. They come over, they smother him with a pillow, then they shoot him again. When first responders arrived at the Careaga home, they found the residential premises burning down in flames with the bodies inside. A few days later, January 29th, Johnny Careaga was discovered dead inside of his F-150 on an abandoned remote tree farm in Mason County. A property caretaker of the farm told investigators that Johnny had been on the land lot that day, but was without his truck. According to the Kitsap County Fire Marshals, a fire log, likely soaked, and this is what they believe happened, likely soaked with some type of fire accelerant, had been placed on the beds at opposite ends of the house. So they killed these people. They killed Christale, Hunter, and Jonathon. They place them in where they need them to be. They put the logs with the accelerant on them. They set the blaze. They also threw large rocks through the window to help fuel the flames. Oxygen. Okay, you need oxygen to have that fire really, really kick off. Now we're going to kind of get into some of the meat of this. When investigators examined the crime scene, they uncovered $50,000 in cash stowed in a strong box, along with a money bag in the master bedroom containing about $7,000. So they start investigating. They start looking into who the Careaga family is. In particular, they start looking at who Johnny is. He's the dad. He's the head of the family. They own this restaurant. But what else? What other ties does he have? Right? What else is he doing? Remember, he was taken away from the scene. They didn't kill him in the house. They took him out to this tree farm. So were they trying to get more money out of him? Were they trying to get information out of him? What was the purpose of taking him to wherever? If I'm a cop, he is definitely the focus, because why did he get taken? What were they trying to get out of him? Right away, you can tell money. Okay, $50,000 in cash stowed in a strong box, $7,000 in a master bedroom in a bag. So the quadruple homicide of the family of four is said to have been the result of a dispute between Johnny Careaga and the people who they ended up arresting over drug sales. Like I said, because he was the apparent target of the attack. According to law enforcement investigative efforts, they found out that Johnny wasn't just running a restaurant. Johnny was also dealing with major drug dealing, in particular cocaine sales. He would regularly bring back a kilo of cocaine from California every few months to sell for profit in Kitsap County. So Johnny was making a lot of money dealing drugs. Had a successful business, had a successful restaurant. But like a lot of these stories that we read about, it's never enough. People always want more. It's easy money. And I will say this, what I found at the end of this story, detectives also discovered a grow operation, a marijuana grow operation, but a legal one. They had all the proper registration. They had all the proper medical licensing. In Washington State, it's perfectly legal as long as you have the medical reasoning and you're signed off and you're legal. As long as you have the proper paperwork, you're all good. And apparently the Careagas did. But just another little side note, they did have a grow op on the premises. So there were things going on. They weren't just running a restaurant. Excuse me. So he's going down to California every couple months. He's bringing a kilo back. He's selling it for profit. Detectives from the Kitsap County Sheriff's Office, in conjunction with FBI special agents, they basically come to a conclusion that members and associates of the Bandidos Motorcycle Club had been involved in the killing of Careaga and his family, of Johnny Careaga and his family, and had been involved with Johnny Careaga in the drug dealing. We are going to do a little background on the Bandidos. The Bandidos Motorcycle Club are a self-proclaimed one-percenter outlaw motorcycle club dating back many decades with a global presence. They've had a long-standing history of involvement in organized crime, as well as other unlawful activities, drug trafficking, murder for hire, extortion. And again, some of the customers who bought cocaine from Johnny Careaga were members of the Bandidos MC. really quick, we're going to talk about the Bandidos MC because I want to give you an idea who these guys are. They were founded March 4th, 1966 by a man named Donald Chambers. Originally, their headquarters, they were founded in the Texas area, Texas, United States, the state of Texas, in San Leon, Texas to be exact. Their headquarters right now is in Houston, Texas. Online, it said there's over 300 chapters in 22 different countries with upwards of 2,500 to 3,000 members. Bandidos Motorcycle Club, also known as Bandidos Nation. It's an outlaw motorcycle club. It's formed in San Leon, Texas in 1966. About 2,500 to 3,000 members, over 300 chapters. It's the second largest motorcycle club in the world behind, you could probably guess, the Hells Angels. They are well known to law enforcement and international law enforcement agencies. They classify them as an organized crime syndicate. And really quick, you'll see their little logo, their little insignia. That's Frito Bandito. He's based on the character from the Frito chips from back in the day. And it was actually Donald Chambers, the founder, who came up with the idea. Donald Eugene Chambers was 36-year-old when he founded them in 1966 in San Leon, Texas. He named the club in honor of the Mexican bandits who lived by their own rules, and he recruited members from biker bars locally in Houston, as well as Corpus Christi and Galveston and San Antonio, Texas areas. Like other outlaw motorcycle clubs, they call themselves the one percenters. You got to earn your way in. You're not just going to be accepted. A lot of them, like I said, veterans. A lot of them have come from a military background or a mix of criminality and veteran background. You don't have to be a veteran, but that seems to be the running theme early on with a lot of these motorcycle club members. There's and the one percenter thing, right? If a lot of you don't know, and I actually really didn't know this till I read this. It was how that came up was a phrase coined by the former president of the American Motorcycle Association, who once stated 99% of motorcyclists were law-abiding citizens and 1% were outlaws. That is why they call themselves 1% or biker gang, because they are outlaws and they wear that proudly. By the early 1970s, the club had over 100 members, including many Vietnam War veterans. Now, Chambers gets in trouble, okay? Ronald Jerome Hodge took over from Chambers as a Bandidos president in 1972. Hodge was nicknamed Mr. Prospects because of the short amount of time in which he was awarded his club membership, which was established in, Mr. Prospect because of the short amount of time in which he was awarded his club membership, and he later became known as Stepmother in deference to Chambers' moniker, Mother. Under Hodge's leadership, the Bandidos became an international motorcycle club. The first foreign chapter opened up in Sydney, Australia in 1983. Under a man named Anthony Mark Spencer, who had previously encountered Bandidos members during a visit to the United States. Fell in love with the lifestyle, wanted to bring it to his home country of Australia. A lot of these guys, though, right? They're all outlaws. They're all committing crime, and that's what ends up happening. Hodge gets 5 years in prison in 1988 for conspiring to bomb homes and automobiles belonging to members of a rival club. Died of heart disease in 92. Chambers, the original founder, he served, like I said, military background, served as a Marine in the Vietnam War. Upon returning to Texas, he was employed as a longshoreman and became a member of numerous motorcycle clubs. Finding these clubs too tame for his taste, then he finds the Bandidos. And in 1966, he opens it in San Leon, Texas. Names them after the Mexican bandits, live by their own rules. And, from there, it basically takes over. He has all these members, has all these things. But, again, like I said, these guys get in trouble. So in 1969, Chambers oversaw the abduction, beating, and hanging, and handing over to police of a Bandidos member who was wanted for a murder unrelated to club business. Basically drawing unwanted attention from law enforcement of the club. So he beats him up, does all this, and hands him over to police. Chambers later moved to New Mexico after he was involved in a deadly shootout with a rival gang at a bar in Houston, where they had gone to discuss a peace agreement. Blows up in a huge fight, a gunfight. On December 22nd, 1972, Chambers, along with fellow Bandidos Jesse Fain Deal and Crazy Ray Vincente, abducted a drug dealer. brothers Marley Leon Tarver and Preston Lee Ray Tarver in El Paso, drove them into the desert north of the city. There, the two dealers were forced to dig their own graves, after which the bikers shot them with the shotgun and set fire to their bodies. The brothers had sold baking soda to the Bandidos earlier that day, claiming it was amphetamine. Chambers, the founder, Deal, and Vincente were convicted of murders. And they all got life sentences. So, you can see where this is kind of going, right? And I wanted to give you that because these guys don't mess around, okay? And I'm not saying John Careaga didn't know what he was getting into or didn't have that criminal element to him or, like we say, right, wasn't about that life. But this is no joke. Now you're dealing in cocaine, large quantities of cocaine. There's thousands of dollars. These people are depending on you to bring their drugs up. So, like I said, Kitsap County Sheriff's Office, in conjunction with the FBI, they find out this is what's going on. Now we're going to introduce some of the suspects into this, okay? Robert James Watson III, Jeffrey James Watson. He was the younger brother of Bobby Watson, or Robert James Watson III. And we got Daniel J. Kelly Jr., okay? We're going to start with the first name, Robert James Watson III. He was the vice president of the Bandidos MC Bellingham, Washington chapter. Robert James Watson III, or Bobby, so we don't get it confused, has been described as the alleged mastermind behind the slayings. When asked by fellow club members about his involvement in the Careaga family murders, Bobby Watson would reply with different and inconsistent responses. The president of the Bandidos Bellingham chapter actually condemned the crime. That's why when you saw that news clip that you just watched, the Bandidos participated in helping kind of bring these guys to justice because they killed kids. They killed two 16-year-old boys. Okay? Johnny James Watson. Johnny James Watson was the younger brother of Bobby Watson, but unlike his brother Bobby, he was not affiliated with the Bandidos Motorcycle Club. All right? That's important to remember. They ran together, but he was not affiliated. And then you have Daniel J. Kelly, the guy with all the crazy tattoos. He was what they call a hang-around. Now, there's kind of levels to this, right? You start being a hang-around. You're an associate of the Bandidos Motorcycle Club. And then you can become a prospect before you can become a member. All right? And somebody has to sponsor you. So, he was a hang-around associate of the Bandidos Motorcycle Club whose prospective membership was sponsored by Robert Bobby Watson III. He was seen in police surveillance footage wearing Bandidos MC supporter apparel. Kelly had once also had a close... Now, remember this. He had a good relationship with Johnny Careaga. He did have one at one time, even going so far as to serve as the best man at Johnny's first wedding. Not the one... Not the lady that he was married to in this whole story, not Christale, but his first wedding. The two would later have a falling out, though, after Johnny Careaga accused Daniel of stealing from him. And this is interesting, right? After it was found out that these guys had committed the crime and committed the murder, Daniel J. Kelly actually got promoted from hang-around to prospect after this crime. So this is where I kind of get a little confused because it says that Bandidos were speaking out against this crime, helping police. But then I also read that he gets promoted. So, I don't know. Was there infighting? Was there disagreement about what was okay and what wasn't? I really don't know. But I wanted to read you guys those suspects because that's who all of a sudden the police are starting to focus on. All right. So these guys are the Bandidos members or hang-arounds or the brothers of the vice president. In the case of Johnny James Watson, he's the brother of Robert Bobby James Watson. Okay. They're dealing drugs. They're dependent on Johnny Careaga to be bringing this cocaine in. But what happens is, really, we don't really know if it's unknown whether Watson had purchased the cocaine for his own personal use or to resell and profit off of all this. But eventually, Johnny Careaga decides, I'm stop selling. I'm going to stop dealing with you guys. All right? And then it just all goes downhill from there. And what ends up happening is, so Johnny Careaga, he stops dealing with those guys. He stops dealing with the Bandidos and Bobby Watson and Johnny Watson and Daniel J. Kelly. But he's not stopping making his runs to California. Well, one time, Johnny takes his routine trip down to California after this whole incident, after this whole kind of argument, after this whole falling out happens. Well, Bobby Watson followed close behind him. All right? And they get into a huge verbal argument between the men. So this is building. This is building. This is building. This is building. Why are you following me? What are you doing? Cops say Careaga was stashing hundreds of thousands of dollars on the property, and it was actually missing after the murders. And at this time, his bank account was having large sums placed in it without a real explanation of where the money was coming from. So it all goes back to drug dealing, and he was moving some weight. Cops say they had cell phone data showing that Bobby Watson lured John Careaga away from the home before the murders took place. Careaga was actually good friend, and that's what we talked about. He was actually good friends with Kelly until they fell out over stealing money. It said that the local Seattle FBI and the local police had racked up over 1,800 pieces of evidence. So, he stops dealing with these guys. He stops selling coke to the Bandito. John Careaga's attorney told authorities that Careaga had hundreds of thousands of dollars underneath his home, but that it was gone when the investigation was going on. According to court records, Robert Watson, an employee, now listen to this, Robert Watson, an employee who is also the vice president of the Bandidos chapter right there, he was an employee at the Kitsap County Public Works, stopped going to work, and he was eventually fired in September of 2017. Detectives said about $300,000 was deposited into his accounts that year, and that there were numerous cash deposits that could not be identified. Okay? Apprehension and trial. The Bandidos members helped with the investigation like we talked about. They say the crimes crossed the line, and this just helped law enforcement so much because it kind of pulls back the curtain, right? It said that the Bandidos, the main ones, did not like the fact that women and kids got killed. So in response to the Careaga family murders, investigations assembled a task force to look into the quadruple homicide. Each of the three suspects whose identities were not initially publicized were booked into Kitsap County Jail. The arrestees were incarcerated on 16 different felony charges per person, among those being aggravated murder, arson, and burglary. This took so long. These guys all pled not guilty to alleged felony charges. A judge ordered that the trio were to be held without bail and were not possess firearms, alcohol, or drugs unless otherwise prescribed. Furthermore, the three assailants were forbidden to have any contact with one another. This happens in 2017, you guys. So this is how long the court system takes place. This goes through COVID. This goes through everything. Everything makes its way through the court system. Everything makes its way. COVID really shut Washington State down, especially when you got three people on trial for murder, 1,800 pieces of evidence. Both sides have to review it. It seems kind of like an open and shut case, but at the same time, it's not. Especially when you've got drug dealing going on, character witnesses. The 911 call was a really important thing, but at the same time, it's not like he's saying any names. The cooperation, I feel like the cooperation from the Bandidos is huge. I feel like that right there. I mean, the cops know who did it. They made the arrests. Still, when that much time passes, man, things can change. Witnesses can move on. People can change their minds. People disappear. People get sick. Stories change. It's crazy. And this is why a lot of times these big criminal organizations, they tell their people, man, take it to trial. Make them prove beyond a reasonable doubt. As you guys saw in the news clippings, they did. On April 5th, 2024, the men were found guilty of 30 charges, including first-degree murder, premeditated murder, and arson. And on May 7th, 2024, they were sentenced to life without parole. Sad. Really sad. Really crazy case. I just think this one's interesting because you see a guy, a family, or in particular, we'll just kind of stick with Johnny Careaga on this. Living on the line, right? Got a restaurant, successful restaurant, featured in the local Times, helping out, raising money for local things, charities. He's also dealing coke to the Bandidos, right? He's got to grow up. Even though it's legal, it's a grow up. So he had 1 foot in, 1 foot out. Cost him, his wife, his kids. I don't know. I don't know if it's worth it. I really want to know what you guys think. That's why I picked this story, because it wasn't just a clear cut. He's a full-fledged gang member. He got killed for dealing drugs. This is a family guy. He had a local restaurant that was successful. He was featured in news articles and news stories about raising money for the community, helping out, doing giveaways, serving food to homeless, all kinds of stuff. So really sad, but at the same time, it's like, man, you play with fire And I'm sure, you don't think it's going to happen to you. You're stashing money away. You're thinking you're soaring under the radar. Everybody loves you. And one decision to, hey, I'm not working with you guys anymore. Boom, it's over. So anyway, there you guys have it. I really want to know what you guys think about this and what you guys think about someone kind of living a dual life. And do you guys have any experience in that or know anybody who lived like that? Thanks again, guys.